Hello and welcome to Friday Lines, brought to you by Little Birdie TV and topsport.com.au, punting form and Manscaped, all your essential items for life. As I welcome MG and Toprope. Firstly, MG, what a cracking weekend of AFL we had last weekend, and it looks just as good this weekend.
Yeah, morning, gentlemen. Yeah, it was. Yeah, enjoyable. We had a few lopsided games, but centred around the Anzac two games we were talking earlier. The Sunday night was as good as it gets, wasn't it, at the MCG with the Melbourne-Richmond at night with all the respects paid, and then they backed it up on the Monday as well with a good game, actually, the Essendon Collingwood game. Either team could have won, but yeah, the AFL would have been happy with that back-to-back performance at the MCG. So, yeah, it's a good week, and this week looks, some good betting opportunities, I think, coming up.
Couple of slight issues from the round. I think it was a little bit of an overreaction. The injury to the ruckman, Mark Pitney and Brodie Grundy. Out of all the ball ups over time, I think we've had a few injuries here and there to ruckman. Now Luke Darcy's calling for a tip off. Look, it's just part and parcel of AFL footy injuries, unfortunately. So I think we've just got to move on. Yeah,
like anything, you seem to have two or three in a row, or one or two in the same round, and all of a sudden we want to change the rules, or it's the same with concussion and everything like that. All of a sudden, let's not tackle in the game. So, yeah, just two incidents obviously happened in the same round. Long-term injuries for both Pitney and Grundy. But, I mean, we can't make it a non-contact sport. It's just part of the game. And unfortunately, two ruckmen went down for significant time in the same round.
Unbelievable. And this week, a little bit of pressure on a few teams, and also probably just a little bit of cautiousness with a bit of punting, with a little bit of COVID around. Yep. So obviously Melbourne, it's their turn this week with Simon Goodwin, and I think they've now got three or four players that are out with COVID. So and there's some pressure on some teams: Port 1-5, Essendon 1-5, GWS 1-5, and then the Bulldogs and Richmond 2-4. There's a bit on the line this weekend, so it should be a very interesting weekend.
Yeah, a few of these teams won't want to lose this week, OB. Otherwise, they'll start planning their end-of-season trips to get away in September, I would have thought. Yeah, 1-5, if those sides you mentioned, if they go down 1-6, I think if their season's not already done, they can stamp their papers after this week. And, it's good timing for Melbourne to lose their coach and a few players coming up against your Hawks. You got a bit of pep in your step, thinking they're a chance to knock off the undefeated Ds.
Well, I thought early on in the week, Hawthorn could lose by 120. Now it's probably 80 or 90. But I just want to see Gill on grand final night. On Brownlow night when Hawthorn win, 3 votes. COVID gets the 3 votes, so that's the only way the Hawks can win. As we throw over to you, Toprope, NRL, it just keeps on delivering. Gus Gould finally coaching Canterbury.
Very exciting. I'm a little bit rattled actually, though. I've been in GL. I think you said that the AFL had become a contact sport. When did this happen? AFL a contact sport, please.
Oh, that's enough out of Toprope for this week.
The humiliation at Canterbury just continues to get worse after last week's shocking capitulation of the Broncos. Gus has gone into the video session, bluffed them, and then put Trent Barrett on the sideline and run the session himself. So the death march has begun. Trent's time is nearing an end. Let's hope we don't have to go through all the formalities. He is a dead man walking, and it's time to get rid of him. It's good that finally the bandwagon's caught up to the pioneers out front. Some of us were on this wagon before he even coached the game, so good to be proven right every now and again.
And I'm really intrigued by the Roosters Bulldogs game this week. I think someone said it last night on one of the Fox shows that I actually can't see Trent Barrett winning regardless. So the Bulldogs win, and it's all Gus Gould. He's fired them up. They lose. Well, it's Trent Barrett's even further down the hole. So it's intriguing that game against the Roosters.
Yeah, that's such a Gus way of pulling these things off. He's the master manipulator. He's one of the great rugby league politicians. Anything we said about Gus, and absolutely no doubt this has been orchestrated to ensure that, like you said, the Dogs are more than likely going to get done by the Roosters. It gets out of hand, and it'll all be Trent's fault. But surprise win, well, then Gus took him for training, and there's one word Gus hates, it's accountability, but he does love playing the politics, and he's manipulated this one very nicely.
And last week, the Anzac Day Storm Blitz, 70-10. I watched the second half. I think it was 54 points in 35 minutes to the Melbourne Storm. Pap's on fire. Nelson Solomono, 55 surnames, kicks the ball and Pap scores a try. You know your night's up for the Warriors when that happens. Just a question for you though, Toprope, on with the New South Wales side sort of selected soonish. Who's your fullback? Is it Teddy? Is it Pap? Can Pap play 14 for New South Wales? How's it? How do you read it?
You can't have them both there, I don't think. I would be playing Pappenhausen at fullback. He is playing some sublime rugby league. Teddy's been going fine, but he's a bit off the pace. Very hard dropping a captain, but rep football is rep football. You don't have a lock on a spot as far as I'm concerned. And what happened last year, the best side available. I don't have any doubt at all. The year started with kind of probably 4 legitimate contenders to the New South Wales fullback spot: Teddy, Pappenhausen, Latrell, and Tommy Turbo. And Pap has streaked away for various reasons. So, got to play the Pap there. I don't see any role for Teddy in the 14. I think he just have to wait his time. But I would, saying all that, I would be surprised if they dropped Tedeschi based on how these New South Wales selectors work. So, but that's, what should happen and what will happen are two very different things.
And last night, a very good result for the punters that took the minus 11.5 on the Broncos. Plus 11.5 on the Broncos. The Sharks just looked a little bit off, especially on the left-hand side there.
Yeah, the Sharks have been a bit patchy. They've probably been covered up by playing some pretty ordinary opponents over the last few weeks. They're pretty ordinary against the Tigers. They had that first half blitz against Manly, but let Manly right back into it. Really easy watching, and you can kind of tell from minute one when Tony Staggs was up in Talakai's face that the Broncos were up for the game. They were, and it's a very, very different side at home, the Broncos, as they are on the road. So I wouldn't be too harsh on the Sharks here. They were missing Dale Finucane. Nico Hines definitely didn't play his best game, but Sharks just kept ticking over. I thought it was a very impressive win for the Broncos. I thought that was the kind of big man scalp that the Broncos have needed for a few years now, and they'll take a lot out of the win. And
just a reminder, it's a big week for the Little Birdie team. It's the Bulldozer 2022 Punters Club. The Little Birdie team and friends are uniting for the 3-day carnival down at the Bull. Buy a share in the Little Birdie Syndicate as we bet every race at the Bull with some out-wide stings on supporting cards. MG, how do the punters get into it?
Yeah, for new to Little Birdie that are watching the show or get their mates to dob them in, you go to download the app, join the syndicate, open your Top Sports account, and you can just transfer whatever money from your Top Sports account through to the syndicate for the 3 days. So, yeah, it was always a great event. A lot of production and work goes into it. The boys will be up and about. It's like their grand final outside of the Autumn Spring. So, yeah, get around. I think we've already, we're up to about 15,000 the count at the moment. So I would say north of 100,000 be a bank that we're aiming for, and it'll give the boys a few bullets over the 3 days.
Beautiful. And I think the fearless leader, Scooty's flying in for it as well. So I know he's up and about. It'll be a look out Melbourne for those 7 days. I think there's a little establishment on Cecil Street that might get a working over. Anyway, now it's time for Friday Lions, brought to you by topsport.com.au. Family owned and operated for 35 years. Bet with a bookie you can trust. Bet with topsport.com.au. The first game we get into is the Friday night fixture over at Optus Stadium in Perth. West Coast Eagles against the Tigers. West Coast at $2.40, Richmond $1.60. The line is 8.5, over and under 161.5. West Coast 1-5, Richmond 2-4. Both teams have lost 2 straight. It's not the most inspiring start to this round, but whoever loses, it's almost curtains for them. MG.
Yeah, it is. They won 3 games between them for the year, so hard to line up the form. As you said, lost a couple of games each. Big game. Probably definitely more for Richmond. I think West Coast season's already done. 1-5. Been smacked by COVID the last 2 weeks. They've been smashed off the park as well, 63 and 84 points. They've lost their last 2 games. Just don't seem to have the cattle. The game plan's pretty poor. And, I'm not sure being at home even helps in this stage. So, the two teams combined have won 6 straight, going to the home team. So that's kind of kept the market, I think, in check to a large degree. But, I'm going to leave the line alone, but I'm pretty keen on the total here. So I think the over low 160s, I think you'll get a good run for your money there. And I just think it'll be an open style game. The weather's good. So that's the way I'll be directing in this game.
Some pretty good inclusions for both sides. I think West Coast in McGovern and Tedeschi Seaton, and for the Tigers, Grimes, Stack, Soldo, Morris Rioli Jr., Lambert in for his first game. For the first time, I think the Richmond side looks balanced, looks quick. I've seen them play a couple of times. If this looks a little bit pedestrian, and then, obviously resting Cochin and Tarrant, and then hopefully Dustin Martin back next week for all AFL followers. So should be a good game over there, and an interesting one to kick off Friday night footy. As we look at the first NRL game for the round 8 kicks off tonight. The South Sydney Rabbitohs against the Manly Seagulls. The Rabbitohs $1.54, Manly $2.55. The line -4.5, over and under 39.5. Cody Walker's 150th game, which is a fantastic effort after debuting as a 26-year-old. Toprope, 8th, 1st, 7th here. On paper, it looks a enthralling tussle.
Yeah, it should be a great game. Not the first game of the evening, though. We've got the Titans and Panthers kicking off beforehand, but this will be the first competitive game of the evening. So it should be an absolute ripper, I would have thought. Keen on a couple of bets in this one. Keen on your buddies, Hero Beef. They've got a very, very good record against Manly. Manly struggles as an underdog. I thought they looked particularly weak against the Sharks last week. Still no Tom Trbojevic there. South have not kind of made a habit of smashing teams, but with a small minus here, I'm more than happy to jump on. Like I said, Cody Walker's 150th game. He's also scored 7 tries in 11 games against Manly, so he's up for a big, big match. I really think they can get on the edges here. I really love Karen Kalamatangi to crash over at some point, and he can cause plenty of damage there. I don't think Eels has to do a lot here. I just think he needs to get early ball to Walker and kind of let the outside backs do their thing. A bit like Talakai got last week. I know Morgan Harper's been dropped, but there's still 2 very, very dicey defensive centres in play here. So chips in South, also chips in the over. Very keen. They still have a long history of high-scoring games. The over usually hits when Manly are an underdog. The over hits when Souths are off a pretty good attacking performance. So, I can see a good number of points as well. I think the line's a little too low here, so I'll be back in the over and back in the bunnies, both with a good deal of confidence.
Oh, I like it when you say that, Toprope. It fills my heart with joy. As we look at the second game for AFL analysis, it's up there in Cairns, Casale Stadium, St Kilda against Port Adelaide on Saturday night. The Saints $1.65, Port Adelaide $2.29. The line is -7.5, over under 154.5. The Saints are playing good footy. I can see them playing in a grand final against Melbourne. I think they're going very, very nicely as MG hangs his head in shame. Ryder in, Marshall out. Port look a little bit more settled this week after a good win against West Coast last week. Look, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this, MG, but I know the Saints have gone up there. A lot of staff have gone up there as well. I'd just keep your powder dry on the Saints if I was you. I think it's a little bit of holiday mode for the Saints. But anyway, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I'm not as bullish on the Saints yet. I know that they got off to a great start, 5-1. Obviously, Port are 1-5. So in terms of their ladder positions, 5th against 14, I just think St Kilda's had a pretty soft draw so far. You can only beat what they put up against you, and they've done the job. They've now won 5 straight. I just think Port getting the win last week, even though it was over West Coast, which you can't really count, I just think at some point the penny had to drop for Port, and I think this is a good test for both sides to actually see where they're at. So St Kilda will be quite happy to play Port, and if they can get away with the win, then yes, they will consider themselves potentially aiming for a top 4 spot as they go on. But I think I'd be shading Port, the side here. Just if I was betting the line, I think Port is the better value at the +7.5. But there's been a big market correction in the total, 161 down to 154. I know it's in Cairns, can be slippery and stuff like that. It's just the way these two teams are playing, even though the stats go to the unders and both head-to-head, Port played 3 straight under games, I just think 154.5 is low side. So I'd bet late in this, and I'm quite happy to have an interest on the over. And if I was backing either side, I'd be backing the close margins. I don't think there's too much between those two teams, but I'd shade Port if I was having a bit of bet.
It has been wet up there and does get greasy. I know that the Saints sort of ball handling last year against Adelaide. I think Riley Tilthorpe kicked that goal late to sort of end their season last year, the Saints. So, I'll just be sort of keeping an eye on conditions up there.
Yep.
As we go to the second game for the weekend analysis for the NRL, we've got the Eels and the Cowboys at TIO Stadium. The Eels $1.33, North Queensland Cowboys $3.40. The line -8.5, over under 40.5. Look, Parramatta are in pretty good nick. North Queensland, I think at the start of the year we sort of tipped them down the lower rungs of the ladder. Which way are you leaning here, Toprope?
Yeah, Parramatta absolutely love it up in Darwin. Love the humidity. Love the probably a night out at shenanigans and monsoons afterwards. So all geared up for a good old crack there. So they've won and covered 5 straight at the venue. I was putting a number on the Cowboys here. Cowboys are the easiest draw going into the year. They've had one game against top 8 opposition. They got flogged by the Roosters at home. Yeah, the Eels, when they get rolling, they can really roll. So, look, they've been pretty resilient this year, the Cowboys, but I think Parramatta will be far too strong.
Yeah, it looks that way, especially up there. It's up there in Darwin. Conditions might play a little bit of a factor at all, Toprope up there.
Yeah, look, it obviously can get a bit kind of slippery and a bit dewy there. So it certainly has in the past, but it hasn't worried Parramatta. They've made it their home ground. That they've taken the game there, kind of pre-COVID times anyway. Once a year for 5 or 6 years prior to that, so they'll be more accustomed to it than probably the Cowboys. So I'll be jumping on the Eels. Not a lot of concern there. -8.5 does not seem like a big line in this game at all either.
Beautiful. And the final match for AFL analysis, we have to wait till 4:40 Sunday afternoon for the match of the season thus far. Sydney Swans against the Brisbane Lions, 4:40 at the SCG. The Swans $1.78, the Lions $2.05. The line is square, over and under 162.5. There are key matchups galore here, and I'm just going to blow my own trumpet. My Brownlow prediction at the start of the year, Callum Mills, I am very happy with the way he's playing. He was outstanding after quarter time against the Hawks on the weekend. This is mouth-watering, MG. Which way are you heading?
Yeah, no, it's very close. And I'm obviously looking forward to this one. At the start of the year, this was probably two sides that most people had in their top 4. Both got off to a 5-1 start. So both tracking very nicely. High-powered offences. Sydney are averaging 99 points a game and Brisbane at 105 at the moment. So I expect some points in there. Now, the weather, the key in this game was early in the week, the weather was expected, and obviously Sydney loves to rain. Toprope keeps telling us it never rains in Sydney, but if you're a duck, that's where you live. So what I find this year is when the rain's been forecast, especially early, that the bookies tend to creep up instead of getting to where they should be, and this is a good example for it. So they open at 158, and then the rain's pretty much cleared on the forecast. And I just think that this game should be north of 165.5. So I think that's where it will trend. So we sent the tip out early to get in on board. I know it's only up to 162.5, but happy to have a bottle of goose that it might get up to the 165 at least, I think. So I think there's points in this game. In terms of the matchup, as you said, the lineups is every line. There's great matchups. I'm going to stay out of the actual betting in the game. I'm a fan of Brisbane. I like the way they're tracking and going about it. The pre-season tip for the flag, and I can't pot Sydney at all. I think their quarter last week against your team was the best quarter so far we've seen this year. They actually turned it on. It was crazy quarter. So if they carry that form in, Brisbane's going to have all they can handle. But I'm looking forward to the battle. Unfortunately, as you said, we're going to wait till the end of the week, but that's okay. Something to look forward to. No tip either way, but I'm keen on the over total.
Yeah, it's a mouth-watering game, that's for sure. As we look to the third match for the weekend of NRL action. St George Illawarra against the West Tigers. The Dragons $1.58. The Tigers, who are in red-hot form at $2.40. The line -4. The over and under 38.5. Michael Maguire has just single-handedly turned these West Tigers around. A couple of positional changes. Luke Brooks, who was absolutely bagging in the first half, comes up with an intercept and a field goal against the mighty Bunnies. Toprope, but 10th versus 13th, but there's a little bit more in this game.
People have spoken for 2,000 years about the resurrection of a bloke called Jesus, but for the next 2,000 years, they might be talking about the resurrection of the West Tigers and the Michael Maguire. He was absolutely gone, crucified. 2 weeks on, he's the saviour. Jackson Hastings comes through, runs the show, field goal, win. Luke Brooks, horrid. The Judas of the camp was going to leave, was going to trade him. Hero, win. Another field goal. Astonishing stuff from the Tigers. Easter's come and gone. Adelaide's come and gone. The Tigers are flying. So I'm going to stick with the Tigers. I kind of like the fundamental change they've made in kind of handing the reins to Jackson Hastings. I just don't think St George should be favoured by as much as they are. Yep, I bet the Roosters who are struggling a little bit, but I can't have this. I can't have Tim Moses and buy it fullback. As a 4-point favourite against anyone. So I'll be jumping on the Tigers here.
At Wynn Stadium, is that playing to the Dragons' hands a little bit more?
Yeah, usually a pretty fast track, so that you would think they would play into the Dragons' hand, probably a touch more, but likely to be that Jack Bird. That's a big issue for them, and their recent record at Wollongong is not insurmountable. So it's not Penrith at Panther Stadium. Let's just say that. So I'll be happy to have a small dabble at the Tigers this one.
And just before we get a little bit sidetracked, Tarek Sims, is he coming to the Storm before the season's out, or has that been sort of kiboshed?
It's been kiboshed for now, but it's been kiboshed in one of those ways that you'd expect it to come through in a couple of weeks. So, all these big denials. I think once they can kind of sort the deal out, I don't think the Dragons want him around anymore. I think the Storm are more than happy to take him. So I think that's just a few bits and bobs to sort through first.
The Storm just keep getting better. As we quickly go through the 6 other AFL games for the weekend, Geelong and the Dockers down there at GMHBA. The Cats $1.28. The Dockers $3.80. The line -24.5. Over under 157.5. Ooh, I don't mind a bit of the Fremantle Dockers here, MG.
Yeah, line's got up a bit. We attacked this line early a couple of days ago. The bookies come out 14.5 was too cheap on the Geelong side. Not sure how they came out at that number. I thought it had to be at least 20 in my opinion. 24 is now getting a bit high, but it seems to be one-way traffic at the moment. I'm surprised it didn't kind of check itself with Dangerfield not coming into a lineup. A lot of people had him playing, and I'm sure he was close to 50-50. But yeah, 24, I think if you're coming in betting forward now, I think Fremantle. I'm keen on Geelong, but right now, if you're taking a line, 24.5 seems a big number.
Okay, round 7 continues. The Crows and the Giants. Crows $1.69. The Giants $2.22. Line -6.5. Over under 164.5. Quick tip.
Adelaide for me.
As we push on through to the next game, Melbourne and the Hawks. We've discussed this one Saturday afternoon. 122 the Demons. The Hawks $4.50. The line -27.5. Over and under 160.5. COVID. Watch on.
Yeah, good game to watch, I think. I think the market's about right.
As we look to the Blues and the Kangaroos, the Blues $1.20, the Kangaroos $4.75, the line -28.5, over under 174.5. Anything doing there?
No, not a betting game for me, OB. I think there's better options this week, so I will be just watching this one.
Perfect. As we look to the Magpies and the Suns, Magpies $1.50, Gold Coast $2.65, the line -11.5, over under 165.5.
Yeah, good spot for Collingwood here. I think the lines could be closer to about 15 or 16 here, so happy to take Collingwood at -11.5.
And the Bulldogs and the Bombers, the 3:20 game on Sunday. Bulldogs 141, the Bombers $3, the line -7.5, over under 172.5. It's a fast scoring deck there.
Yeah, I think I couldn't come into the Bulldogs at the big minus, not the way they're playing. I think this will be a lot closer. So if I was having a bet, I'd be directing to Essendon at the plus.
As we head across to the NRL final games for the round, the Titans and the Panthers tonight. The Titans at $8.50. The Panthers $1.08. Line 18.5. Over under 43.5. Anything there, Top Rope?
Yeah, line too big. Plus 18.5. The Titans, Panthers, different team on the road. I'll be taking that plus.
As we look at the Warriors and the Raiders, Warriors 2.08, the Raiders $1.77. The line is 2 points, over and under 41.5. The Warriors licking their wounds from last week. Any hope there?
Big hope. There's one certainty in rugby league. Total humiliation usually breeds a bounce back the next week. Teams who conceded 60 or more have a tremendous record the following week. The Warriors +2, close to good things.
And the Bulldogs and the Roosters, the Trent Barrett Cup, $4.65 the Bulldogs, the Roosters $1.20, the line 12.5, over under 39.5. The Roosters weren't great last week. They should bounce back in this one?
You think so. They're 0-4 against the spread. As a double-digit favourite, they've got a pretty poor record. I think the Dogs can probably keep it close enough. I'd rather on the plus 12.5 on the minus. Hopefully Gus has a bit of magic in him, but not a lot of action in this game.
And the final game for the round is the Newcastle Knights against the Melbourne Storm. The Knights $8.50, the Melbourne Storm $1.07, the line at 19.5, over under 43.5. Ooh, anything take your fancy there, Top Rope?
Anything. I've got plenty taking my fancy in this one. I reckon the Storm minus 19.5 and every bit of Rick Flower up to about 40, I reckon. I'm happy now to score at least a couple of tries. And Harry Grant to crash over at $3.20. He scored in 3 straight. The Newcastle middle is weak. He'll score a try.
Beautiful. Thank you, Top Rope. Punters, you can locate the greatest game of all, GGOA, for $22 a week in the littlebirdie.live shop for all your NRL betting action. MG, a reminder, the AFL Stings for $22 a week in the littlebirdie.live shop as well. Thank you both for joining us today. That's a wrap for this week. You can follow us on YouTube, find us in the Apple Store, on Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow Little Birdie TV on Twitter or Insta. Remember, all your footy betting action can be found at topsport.com.au. We'll be back next Friday. Don't forget to join Nikki on Monday for First Look with all the weekend's action in review. Punt well, punt responsibly, and have a great weekend, punters.